On today's podcast episode, we're going to be wrestling with a question that many of you have submitted to us. And that question is this: do I really need to go to church to be a Christian? Listen, I get it. I get that question a lot, and I understand where it's coming from. Because life is busy. Schedules are super crazy. And you can stream sermons online, or you can listen to your favorite worship music online too. And so because of that, I think it's easy for us to think, I can be spiritual without going to the church. I can be spiritual without doing this gathering thing. But here's the deal. What if church isn't about me and God? Or what if the church isn't about you and God? But instead, what if it's about us and God together? What if gathering isn't optional fluff, but it's actually part of how God designed us to thrive, like He designed us from the very beginning? Think about it this way. I've been trying to think of a way to kind of demonstrate this. Think about it like this. Maybe like campfire. If you put one coal, or you pull one coal out from the campfire that's been set on fire, and you put it to the side, it doesn't go out usually right away, but it begins to cool down really fast. And you put it back in with the other coals, it heats right back up. Church rhythms are kind of like that. One weekend missed here and there, it doesn't mean that your faith is going to die. But if that is your normal pattern and of being taken out, if that's your normal pattern of isolating yourself and you cool off, then you're going to burn out. Because you were made to burn. You were made to not flicker alone. You're made to be like that coal in the fire. You're made for relationships. And being around one another is what helps us thrive. Or think about it this way. On a sports team, missing one practice doesn't mean you're going to be kicked off the team necessarily. But if you never show up, you're never going to grow. And the team suffers because of it. The Bible makes it clear. It makes this point in Hebrews chapter 10, verses 24 through 25. And the author says this: let us consider how to stir one another up in love and good works, not neglecting to meet together. Did you hear that? As some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day drawing near. Notice in this passage, it's not framed like a guilt trip. The idea wasn't to say how terrible you are if you never gather. It's supposed to be an encouragement to us, to stir one another up, to keep each other strong, to get in each other's lives and say, hey, you need me and I need you. In Acts chapter 2, verses 42 through 47, something that our church has been kind of settling in a lot lately. It says this, that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, to prayer. They did things of generosity and worship. And that was their church rhythms. And that's what we want to model our life off of. And that was important to them, the gathering, the doing. It should be important to us too. It was the heartbeat of their community. It wasn't just an occasional drop in, drop out kind of thing. It was their lifestyle. They gathered together. And I think we tend to forget something. And that is that we have an enemy out there. The enemy is Satan. He's the devil, the tempter. And he really, really likes to isolate us. He really, really loves to push us into isolation. Because if he can pull you or me away from God's family, he doesn't have to wreck your faith with some big crash. He just needs to starve it quietly and it'll burn out. When you're alone, when I'm alone in my faith, my doubts, your doubts, they get louder, don't they? Your temptations, my temptations, they get stronger. And your encouragement dries up because there's no one around you to say, you got this. You're not alone. You can do this. Gathering reminds us that we're not alone. It recenters us on truth, and it gives us people who will stand with us in dark and hard times. So hear me clearly. I am not saying that missing church from time to time is a sin and that's going to send you to hell. I'm not saying that. because life happens. I get vacations, sicknesses, work schedules, it's real. But if missing, not gathering, becomes the rhythm of your life, then you are missing out on the life that God intended for you to have. Gathering should be the norm because God wired us for it. You and I were made for community. We were not made for isolation. And when we choose to gather week after week, we push back against the enemy's lies that say, you don't need anybody. You can go at it alone. No, you and I, we were made for family. So back to the question from the very beginning. Do I really need to go to church to be a Christian? Well, the answer is this. You don't earn salvation by attending by any stretch of the imagination. But you'll grow, you'll thrive, and you'll stay strong when you do. So friends, if you've drifted, maybe this is your week that you say, I'm going to come back. I'm going to re-engage with God's family. Not out of a guilt trip, but because you recognize it's what you were made for. Thanks for joining me today. I hope it encouraged you. If you were encouraged by this and you know someone who could also be encouraged by it, go ahead and share this with them. Send it to them. Maybe leave some comments below. We'd love to communicate and talk with you about what God's doing in your life. And then join us this weekend at 8, 9:30, or 11 at our Coral Junction campus on Sunday morning or on Saturday nights at 6 o'clock. Either way, we'd love for you to gather as we continue through this community series that we have going on. As always, church, until we see each other again, you were sent. Have a great day.